the bankers are occupying us from the entire infrastructure of our economies and our political systems. Accusations of treason in the Greek parliament. So a minister, Mr. Kamenos, stood up and alleged that the Prime Minister, George Papandreou, was guilty of treason. And he said that members of the Prime Minister's team presided over the sale of $1.3 billion worth of credit default swap contracts on or around December of 2009, shortly after coming to power. So those 1.3 billion in credit default swaps would now be worth 27 billion euros, which would miraculously pay off most of these debts, or at least allow Greece to continue operating without needing to borrow money from the IMF for the next 2 years. But no, apparently George Papandreou sold these 1.3 billion in credit default swaps that the Hellenic Post Bank, a public banking arm of the Greek government, that they owned and they had bought in the previous few months. He sold it to a group of friends for a $40 million profit. These group of Greek oligarchs are now sitting on $27 billion that George Papandreou handed to him.
That's right. It's a clear case of tyranny and treason. That's why we say on this show there should be a regime change in Greece, and that means regime change. I don't know how to sugarcoat it. I mean, you go down there to the assembly of the parliament or wherever this George Papandreou idiot is living, and you pull him out and you get rid of him because he committed treason. He committed treason. He committed tyranny. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to get drunk on Izzo like you do every other day, or are you going to? Oh, that's right. You want to be part of Disneyland. I forgot.
Well, so these $1.3 billion in credit default swaps, which are insurance against the default of Greece, okay, he sold them to these private investors in December of 2009, at the same time that he went to the IMF and told them they were going to need a 110 billion euro bailout. So he sold this to these people at the same time he knew that Greece was about to default, and those credit default swaps would be worth a whole lot more. And in fact, at the same time, he was in the press saying, people are naked short selling our sovereign debt, and this is bad. Well, but at the same time, the Central Bank of Greece quite curiously decided to change the legal settlement period for shorting government bonds from 3 days to 10 days. This had the ostensible effect of aiding naked short sellers who were able to keep their positions against Greek national debt open longer, thus driving down the price of the country's bonds, spiking its yields, and pumping up the price of Greek CDS.
So Papandreou was involved in fraud on 3 distinct occasions during this whole period of financial terrorism that is now resulting in the loss of Greek sovereignty.
Well, it's a pincer movement. It's a movement that would make, it's financial war that would make General Patton happy. He would be impressed with this. He would think that this pincer movement, he went at it from all sides, and somebody he knows made $27 billion.
Well, I mean, as we've been saying all along, Stacey, the country of Greece is not bankrupt. The IMF is bankrupt. George Papandreou is bankrupt. Who knows what money he owes some casino or some drug lord somewhere, what kind of drug habit he's got, where he's willing to sell his frickin' country for a few quid.
It's $27 billion, and the people of Greece should demand us back. The victims of Bernie Madoff are able to go to the people who benefited from his scheme and take their money back. So why don't the people of Greece say, give us back that $27 billion that was sold to you fraudulently?
They are owed $27 billion. Papandreou knows where the money is. It sounds like Papa Doc, doesn't it? He's another one of these fly-by-night dictators that comes in, ransacks the country, and sails off somewhere with his crack whores and his cocaine.
But it's not just Europe that is occupied by banksters. It's also the United States.